Have you guys ever worked for 14 hours a day for 31 days straight? If not, you're in luck because it really does suck. I was tired. Um, Basically, today I'm going to show you how to install an outdoor menu board. My name is Enrique Contreras. I've done a little bit of research on it, but I used to work as an electrician for close to 8 months. And I work for Staley Technology. And I'm just going to show you how to install an outdoor menu board. My name is Enrique Contreras. We usually did all the McDonald's. That's the only one we really did was McDonald's because that was our contract. But in order to do it, you have a 3-day step period because you have to get it done in 3 days, and then you have to get on and get to the next one. So for day one, you have to make sure all the trenches are right for the excavators. Like they come in and they dig the whole thing out, and you have to make sure it's the right measurements for every trench. Then you have to set up the rebar with the star bolt kit. So basically, you take all the screws off the star bolt kit, and then you assemble it. Not very hard. There's a manual if you need to know how to do it. Then you put it inside the sonotube, which you have set with rebar, and then you make sure it sits up nice and right, about 16 inches off the ground. You're supposed to have it. Then you run all the PVC pipes through all the trenches and into a quasar box, depending on if the drive-thru has 2 lanes or 1 lane, is how many quasar boxes you're gonna have. If it has 1 lane, you only have 1. If you have 2, you have 2. You have to go across the middle of the line. And then you have to call for the inspection for the next morning, so that way you can get everything going. Next, I will be talking to you guys about the second day and how it goes. Next, I will be talking to you guys about what happens on day 2. Day 2, the first things first is you got to pass that inspection, because if you don't pass that inspection, you can't do nothing. You have to wait until you get everything right, depending on whether or not it's a square footer. A square footer is when you can't dig deep enough because maybe there's more concrete in the ground or there's hard rocks where you can't dig deep enough, so it has to be really wide. Then you need to put in 16 more pieces of rebar. Now I had a question saying, what is rebar? Rebar is basically a metal. We use the 5-inch thick rebar. It's just a piece of metal that you have to put in the ground so it keeps the concrete stable so it won't break. And then, so if you pass the inspection, which isn't that hard because, you just gotta do what you gotta do, then you have to start running the data and the electric up the wall and into the building. And then once you run it up and into the building, you drop it down to where the boxes are. You run the electric into the computer panel, and then you run it into the data box that's in the manager's office. Then you need to start the backfill and finish the backfill. So that's basically you put dirt over where all the trenches pipes are, but not where obviously where the sonotubes are, because that's where the concrete goes. So you have to fill it all up, stomp it down, make sure it's like no one was even there. And then you need to tip all the data cables in the inside. Now when it comes to tipping data cables, you got to cut the cord to where it exposes all the wires, and then you have a tip. We use Belden tips, and then we had a Belden crimper to crimp the end of it. There's 4 steps, or there's 4 sides to the Belden tip. There's different colors in the Cat 6E cable. It has white, brown, brown, white, orange, orange, white, green, green, and then white, blue, blue. So basically you tape it, and then the white part of the blue or the white part of the orange, any of the colors, always goes on the inside of the tip. So you put it in and you wrap it around and you split it at the end. And so it's gonna have all the loose cables hanging down. And then you take your crimp and you crimp it in, and it's gonna be good to go. And then you have to make sure you call the concrete truck to make sure he gets there during that day, because if not, then everything's gonna be set back a day. And then you have to pour and level all the concrete. So you sit there with shovels while the big ass concrete truck pulls down, and then you pour it into the sonotubes, make sure it's all nice and flat. Try not to get concrete absolutely everywhere, which is the hardest part. And then you have to take your leveling tools, you just level it out, smooth it out. You go around the edge of the sonotube, and then you do that for all of them. There should be 4, because usually you do 2 menu boards and 2 pre-sales. And then you wait for that to harden the next day, and then that brings me to day 3. All right, now on to day 3. Day 3 is important because that's the ticket out of there. The first thing you need to do is, we called it a boom lift. It could be called really anything, but basically it's just a super big forklift that can stretch its arm out like 40, 50 feet and go super high. And you need to unbox all the menu boards. Make sure you don't break them, because them things worth like $12,000 a piece. So if you break them, it's your ass. And then After that, you tie it up to the boom lift. You make sure it's nice and steady so it won't drop it. Then you have to walk it over to the sauna tubes, place it down on the four the poles that are going up, the screws go on. I had a brain fart, but you make sure it's leveled on their face. It has to be 18 inches away from the curb so no one who doesn't know how to drive hits it. And then you tighten all the bolts in for all 4 of them and make sure they're on tight so that way there's no weather that can push it over, no nothing. It has to be secure because if not, that's on you. And then you have to run all the electric and the data to the Quasar boxes, which should already be done on day 2. And then you run it into the panels, or not the panels, but the menu boards. And then you do the data the same way I told you. As far as the electric, there's going to be a color code in the back where the hot, ground, and neutral go. The hot goes into the red one. The ground goes into the black one, and the ground goes into the green one. My bad. The neutral goes into the black one. And then you just make sure all those are tied in the Quasar box. You do color coded, so all the green ones tie in with the green ones, all the brown or black ones tie in with the black ones, and all the red ones tie in with the red ones. Pretty self-explanatory. And then after that, you have to turn on your menu boards, and then you have to make sure that because there's going to have 4 sections that pop up. They all are searching for an IP address. You need to make sure the IP address comes up for both. Because if they don't get an IP address, then you know you did something wrong. After you get all the IP addresses set up, you rip off the sauna tubes. Basically what we did is we took a long ass flathead screwdriver, you hit it with a hammer and you pull it down, just to rip it off to ground level so you can't see the sauna tubes no more. Then you need to call the hotline. Basically you have to sit on the phone with them for about 4 hours until they configure it. It takes a really long time for some reason. And then after that, you make sure you get the ending code is what they give you to make sure that that's kind of like a receipt that says like you have everything done, everything's good, it's working the way it's supposed to. And then that's when you're on to the next city/state. I mean, you go where you need to go. And then that's pretty much it. But as far as review, the main points of the day, 1 is that you need to really make sure you set your sauna tubes and get that inspection called for and run all the pipes, because without the pipes, that's the only thing they look for in inspection. Day 2, the most important thing is to run the data and the electric inside the building, finish the backfill, and then do the concrete and level it and make sure everything's done. And day 3, the most important thing is getting out of there. Like, you have to make sure everything's set, tightened, everything looks good, like there's not trash everywhere. Make sure you have those IP addresses, and then ask your boss, where am I going next? That's pretty much it. That's my speech. Thank you guys very much.